What is going on, y'all? How y'all doing? Welcome to Facemask Fantasy. Today I'm doing this alone because Nick is celebrating. He's out for a wedding. One of the many weddings he's had this year, but this one's for his brother. So it's a big wedding out there. So he's not with us today. So you just got me for this weekend. So I'm chilling today with you guys for however long you want to chill, and I'll answer all questions in the chat as always. And tomorrow 10 a.m. EST, I'll be back again to answer all questions live 3 hours before the second window of kickoff games, because tomorrow we do have our first London game. So make sure to get your Saints and Vikings questions in tonight. Make sure you get all your lineup set with those players tonight, and move them into your wide receiver 3 spots over your flex spots if you have 2 wide receivers in both spots, just to be sure. But yeah, let's get this started, because we already have a super chat. Blue Crew, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your super chat. Appreciate it. Half PPR, pick 1, Curtis Samuels, Rashad Bateman, Tony Pollard, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, Curtis Samuel has been really good this year. In half PPR, it's hard not to go with Curtis Samuels, even though we love Bateman so much. But yeah, I still think there's just a little bit of a tier break. And honestly, Carson Wentz has looked pretty bad over the last few weeks. And I know Devin Duvernay has been getting a little bit more shine over Bateman in some of these games, but I'm going back to Bateman. Curtis Samuel's got it, and that offense just has to show me that it's better than it has been over the past 2 weeks before I want to invest in it. So I'm going Bateman, and I think Nick would say the same thing. Both him and I like Bateman pretty much weekly, even if he has some dud weeks in there. But Mike, what's going on, man? Chris Kreider, what's happening? Keep Breece Hall or trade away to acquire Dubs and Pierce. I would keep Breece Hall. Because there's a chance that this Jets offense really starts to mesh and grow under Zach Wilson, and part of that is going to be Breece Hall, who they drafted in pretty early, in I believe the second round. But yes, so I think I want Breece Hall, even though he's kind of yet to break out because of the presence of Michael Carter. But season long, I like that. I'm not sold on Dubs. I feel like I gotta see another week from Dubs. I like what I saw from Dubs in the preseason, but now Allen Lazard and Christian Watson are back healthy and playing. So I want to see how they factor into the equation another week healthy, with all 4 healthy, before I go all in on Dubs. And I've liked what I've seen from Pierce. Yes, he has the number 1 role, but there's like a talent break here where I just want Breece for when the breakout happens. Remember, it took until week 7 to see Jonathan Taylor really become Jonathan Taylor. He struggled early on for the first few weeks of his career because he didn't get the workload. The coaches were holding him back a little bit. And I think that's what they're doing with Breece Hall. They don't want to put too much on his plate too early, but there will come a time when that talent just takes over. And I'm holding Breece on. I'm holding on to Breece for that. Gets, what's happening? Knox, Everett, or Njoku full PPR. I think I'm going Everett. Because we've seen nothing but good things from Everett pretty much all season. Sorry about that. And Knox has been hit or miss. He has, but Gerald Everett, tight end 8 on the year. Yes, he didn't have a great game against Jacksonville last week, but he still got 6 targets. So, I mean, I'm going back to the well. They're playing Houston. I think he can get a touchdown in this one. His snaps have gone up every single game this year. 66 week 1, 67 week 2, 75 week 3. And I think that's just going to continue to grow as the team gets more and the coaching staff gets more confidence in him, which they have to have. So, yeah, man, I'm just rolling with Everett. Has an elite quarterback, just like Knox, but Knox hasn't been on the same page with Allen, or Allen just hasn't been looking for him in the spots that he did last year. He's going to Gabe Davis. He's going to Isaiah McKenzie. He's going to the running backs now that they have James Cook and Devin Singletary's playing well, and Zach Moss is surprisingly playing well. There's just a lot of there's a lot more players in this offense that are demanding the ball for the Bills, and Knox seems to kind of be lost in the shuffle. So I'm not going back to Knox quite yet, even though I do have hope for the future. And Njoku will be tough to trust with Brissett until week 12 when Deshaun Watson comes back. But we know what the upside that Njoku has. He has top 6 upside with that with a very high RAS score, and but it's hard to trust him in weekly formats until he has that elite quarterback. So Everett and Richie Laura, what's happening? Should I trade Khalil Herbert for Breece Hall? It depends it really depends. Do you need somebody for this week? Because Khalil Herbert is going to be on the RB1 borderline, to be honest with you. Do you need somebody for this week? Are you struggling? Do you need to just get back to 500 in your league? Then I would keep him, because I think Khalil Herbert has played himself into more of a role moving forward. Even when David Montgomery comes back, they're not going to give David Montgomery the role that they were giving him through 2 weeks before he got injured. Khalil Herbert is demanding the ball here. We've seen it when he was given a small role with David Montgomery healthy early in the year. He had something like a 7.9 yards per carry average through 2 weeks or something like that. And then we've seen what he did when he had the entire role to himself. He was the RB2 on the year, or on the week. So it's tough. He's the RB9 on the year, because he scored in week 1 and then had 157 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 3, and then gets the Giants to himself. We don't know how long this David Montgomery injury is going to keep him out, so he could play in week 5 against Minnesota, which is another plus matchup. But of course, Breece Hall has season-long viability. So it really depends what you need. Do you need somebody to kickstart your team into high gear for the next few weeks? And then we'll probably have value moving forward, a la Nyheim Hines type. Maybe not in play style, but in playability on your roster. We'll provide you RB3 flex value, RB4 value with RB2 upside on a week-to-week basis, even when David Montgomery comes back. Breece Hall could be an RB1 later in the year. Chances are he's more of an RB2. But even that, I mean, Khalil Herbert could play himself into RB2 viability, at least RB3 viability, flex viability moving forward as soon as as soon as this week, depending on how he performs. If he has another game like he did last week, they're gonna be playing him. They're gonna have to be playing him in a much larger role, even when David Montgomery comes back. And there's no rush to move David Montgomery. It's tough, man. Really depends what you need. I guess I would just say yes, because there is a talent break there. But if you absolutely need to win within the next 2 weeks, I might hold Khalil Herbert and then trade him. Maybe trade him afterwards. And Rojo, what do we need to trade away Kamara in my 10-team Dynasty half PPR league? 23 early second, get it done, or do we need more? No, you need more. If you're trading away Kamara, man, I'm not giving Kamara up for anything less than a first-round pick. Because, yes, he hasn't performed through 3 weeks, but we have to look at what he's done in his career. You're obviously talking dynasty. The guy's 27, and he's one of those running backs that can probably play until he's 30. And he's going to have to deal with the suspension next year. And, yeah, it looks bad this year. 6 points week 1. 0. He didn't play week 2. I believe, and then week 3, 6 points. But 72% of the snaps, 70% of the snaps, or 62% of the snaps week 1, 70% of the snaps week 2. The week 2 usage was good, 15 carries, 7 targets. You can't hate on that usage. You really can't. And there will be better days moving forward for Alvin Kamara. And we have to remember, prior to this 3-week rough stretch, he's been a high-end RB1, a top 5 RB1 in any format, in pretty much, in basically 5 years since he's entered the league. So I'm not getting anything less than a first this year, or I'm not giving him up for anything less than a first this year. I don't care if it's an early second, could be the 201. Don't care. I want some even late firsts projected can end up being mid to high firsts, because we don't know how the season's going to unfold. So give me a first. He's been an RB1 for 5 years straight, and now for 3-game stretch, you want to sell him for a second? Honestly, man, there's an argument for trying to get a first plus. So I hope that helps, and I hope you can find a trade partner. But you're a Saints fan. What are you trying to get rid of Kamara for? You traded Palmer for Brees. I don't know how. Brees was his RB4 though, and his wide receiver core sucks. Hey, that's a solid trade, because again, Brees Hall can have RB1 value moving by week 10. He could hit. The talent level is the same as a Najee Harris. All he needs is the touches. That's it. And at some point, I think it is going to switch in his favor. Michael Carter's going to get, 30% of the work, and then Brees Hall might get 70. Maybe 60-40, but still, I think the time is coming for Brees. And he's still playable now. What's going on, Iron? How you doing, man? And yo, Rojo, no worries. No worries. What's going on, Nemo? You gonna get a friend this week in the Zombie League? Iron, pick 2 for this week. Gibson, Penny, Jeff Wilson, Judy, Bateman, Madison, Mac Hollins. Well, Mac Hollins is a great stream if you don't have anybody else, but I wouldn't advise him as a play for this week, even though Hunter Renfrow is out. With Madison, it looks like Cook is playing. So there's always the chance that there's going to be another injury to his shoulder or something like that. It gets dislocated again and Madison comes back in. But to start off the game, Cook is playing. So we got to operate under the impression that Madison is going to be the backup and getting, breather work for Cook coming back from an injury. So I wouldn't play him. Judy, show me you're healthy. I like what Penny has done in week 3. He's surprised me. I didn't think that Penny was going to be that guy. I really didn't. But he got the workload. 69% snap share, 14 attempts. He got the workload of the RB1 in this offense. Did it amount to much? No. For this week, I think I'm going Gibson and Jeff Wilson. And what's the format? What's the format? Because I like playing the idea of playing Bateman too. But Jeff Wilson has gotten the majority of the work for San Fran for the past, since Elijah Mitchell went down. He's been a decent running back through that span. 11 points week 2, 10 points week 3, 73% snap share week 3, 12 rushes, 6 yards per carry average. He looked really good out there in week 3. It's PPR. Okay. He did only get 3 receptions, but he caught all of them. I think I'm playing Gibson, and since it's PPR, maybe this is the game that Bateman gets hyper targeted in, because it's the Buffalo it's the Buffalo defense again, down one of their top 2 safeties for the entire year with no Tre'Davious White back. They're hurting on the O-line, on the D-line. They're hurting in the secondary. Gibson and Bateman. But I really like Jeff Wilson too, man. If you can find a way to sneak him in your lineup in the flex or something like that over somebody, let me know if what the situation there is, because I like Jeff Wilson this week. Trey S, full PPR, start 2. Olave, A-Rob, Kareem Hunt, or Devonta Smith. Full PPR, Olave and Devonta Smith. Start those wide receivers, man. Olave, he's had a 13 target game this year, and it's gonna be Andy Dalton, but I believe Michael Thomas is not playing, and I don't know, maybe Landry's not playing too, or Landry's hurt, but he is playing, but he's a little bit banged up. But Michael Thomas is not playing, so that's going to be a lot of targets for him. And Devonta Smith is coming off in a 180-yard game, so you got to go back to that well, man. Will he replicate that? Probably not. I think the pendulum swings back in A.J. Brown's favor, but Devonta Smith has the game-breaking ability on any play. So even if he gets 4 targets, he can get you 100 yards and a touchdown. So I'm going with both of those guys in full PPR. Also, give Russell one last shot or roll out Cousins. You got to make this decision pretty much tonight with the Saints and Vikings game tomorrow. With the Saints playing Andy Dalton, maybe the Vikings won't need to overpower their opponent. So maybe it isn't a Cousins ceiling game. The Broncos play the Raiders, divisional opponent. They're gonna have to. It might be a little bit of a aerial slugfest. I'm giving Russell Wilson one last shot. I am. Because I believe Jerry Jeudy is healthy. But let me double check that. Yeah, he played in week 3. So yeah, I believe he is healthy. So he has his weapons back, and Jerry Jeudy is 1 week removed from his injury. I'm going back to Russell one last time before I roll out Cousins rest of the season. I need to see him with his entire wide receiver core as it is right now. Iron and need to again. No, hey, no problem, bro. Najee, Chubb, Jamal Williams, or Khalil Herbert non-PPR. Well, that's tough. Damn. I mean, it's hard not to play Najee Harris. I think you got to play Najee Harris. I think you got to play Jamal Williams. Well, no, you're playing Chubb. So I think it's Najee and Chubb. I think it's the top two. I love the fact that you have Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert. And you need three. You need to pick between Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert. The Lions have the better offense. And they're also without Amon-Ra St. Brown. And Jared Goff has been relatively on fire for literally the past 8 games, just as long as Amon-Ra has been on fire. Now he's without Amon-Ra. People are talking about Khalif Raymond and Craig Reynolds, like who's going to be viable there. Jamal Williams performed like an RB1 in Swift's absence last week. So I think if I'm picking 3, Najee, Chubb are the 2, and the third one is Jamal Williams. Even though I really like Khalil Herbert, they're kind of on the same tier for me talent-wise. Maybe, I mean, Khalil Herbert is obviously younger and has a little bit more untapped upside because we've yet to see him have any sort of shot at a full-time role for an extended period of time, where the book is kind of out on Jamal Williams. We know what he is. Very good running back, but, you know, not starter capable outside of spot starts. But this is a prime spot start. Najee, Chubb, and Jamal. And daggers, what's happening? Half PPR, Ertz or Njoku? Ertz. I'm going back to the well with Ertz. Njoku had a great game last week, but the pendulum could swing back to DPJ's favor in terms of the secondary targets behind Amari Cooper. And now that the team found Amari Cooper, because you got to remember, in week 1, in the first few weeks, Amari Cooper wasn't, he wasn't part of the game plan, and he's ramped up, and now he obviously is. Njoku could disappear pretty much weekly, so we have to remember that. Ertz is going to be a steadier presence in your lineup. I would stick with Ertz. Mike Lopez, what's happening, man? CMC, Thielen, Hines, Claypool, or AJ Dillon, Devontae Adams, Burkhead, and Keyshawn Vaughn. Oof. I love CMC. The thing is, outside of those options on that side of the deal, Hines is an aging number 2 running back who, in my opinion, has been underrated in terms of his presence in the NFL locker room and in the NFL lineup, but I think he's a little bit overrated in terms of what he does in fantasy. I do. Claypool, who might not have relevance until Pickett is in the lineup, and he might not play all year with how bad this O-line is. I don't know if that front office wants to start Kenny Pickett off with, dealing with constant pressure in his face because their O-line isn't giving him any help yet. I think they might want to build that up a little bit more, at least wait until, the season's completely over for them to move to him. And so, and Thielen is just old. So I think I'd rather have, and he's not been performing well. Thielen, Hines, Claypool, all of them not been performing well. At least on the other side, you have 2 guys who have been performing well and 1 guy who can step in right away in case of a Dameon Pierce injury. So he's technically an RB1 workload lottery ticket. Keyshawn Vaughn, droppable for somebody else. really. I think I'd rather A.J. Dillon, Devontae Adams side, because while it's arguable whether or not the best player in the deal is CMC, you got an RB2 and A.J. Dillon who can weekly be an RB1, and Devontae Adams is a wide receiver 1 for basically an elite RB1 who is banged up right now in CMC, and then a bunch of guys that, you know, Thielen, you can plug him into your lineup as a wide receiver 3. You can. But he's liable to disappear a little bit more than he has in the past weekly. I mean, we saw it through 2 weeks. So there's going to be a little bit more volatility with Thielen than we've typically seen. And Hines and Claypool are not playable right now. Yeah, I want the A.J. Dillon and Devontae Adams side. Trey S. Also PPR. Start 2. Full PPR. Start 2. Breece Hall. Allen Robinson. Damian Harris. Devin Singletary or Jerry Jeudy. Full PPR. I mean, Breece Hall. And it's tough between Allen Robinson and Damian Harris because, I mean, Allen Robinson just hasn't been performing well. He really hasn't. And I think I'll go Damian Harris. Breece Hall and Damian Harris. Sean, what's happening, man? Do we trust Garrett Wilson this week to keep up the performance with a different quarterback, or should I put Bateman in? I'm intrigued by Garrett Wilson because I think he's a really good wide receiver. I need to see the rapport with the quarterback that he wasn't playing with through the majority of the offseason, because you got to remember he was on the second team while the first team offense was while he was getting up to speed with the playbook, while the first team offense was Elijah Moore and Corey Davis, and they weren't playing much three wide. So Flacco was the guy that was passing him the ball throughout the offseason, throughout the preseason, throughout training camp, all that. There's a tier break here too, as it stands right now. So I would just put Bateman in. Sheldon Bright, what's happening, man? Good to see you. Should I go with Rashad Penny or Ramondre Stevenson or CEH as my RB2? My RB1 is Saquon, full PPR. Now, it's a choice out of these guys between Ramondre Stevenson and CEH to me. Ramondre Stevenson is working himself into an RB1 workload. Or at least the RB1A, the 1A on this team's work from a workload perspective. They're playing the Packers. Could be just a low-scoring kind of slugfest, kind of dominated by the two running backs on either side of the ball. I like Stevenson. He's going to get more of a workload than CEH is. But CEH is the RB8 on the year. CEH hasn't needed the elite touch count. He's never had a snap count over 44 in 3 games this year. But week 1, 20 points. Week 2, 13 points. Week 3, 12 points. Targets have gone up every single week, 3 to 4 to 5. Yeah, he's only getting 7 to 8 rushes. But, I mean, unless we're talking standard here, and you're talking full PPR, CEH has been very usable. I think Ramondre has the more solid floor. But, I mean, it's hard not to just continue to ride CEH, even though that snap share could lead you high and dry. It could. Ramondre has a higher floor. CEH has the higher ceiling. Playing the Buccaneers could be a higher scoring game where CEH is needed on the goal line and some trickery comes into play. Like that pitch in week 1 and all that. So, yeah, CEH. Try to find a way to flex Ramondre though. Iron. Yeah, this is for my flex spots. Okay, starters are Najee, Javonte, Chase, AJ Brown, so you wouldn't change that. Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, or Javonte Williams is kind of an interesting question though, man. I might sit Javonte Williams this week. I honestly might sit Javonte Williams this week for Jamal Williams. And I mean, Khalil Herbert and Javonte Williams are pretty damn close. They are. I mean, this offense for Denver just hasn't looked good, and he's splitting work with a capable running back in Melvin Gordon. Herbert is going to have the entire role to himself in, yes, a even worse offense than the Broncos offense. But you saw what he did. He was basically their entire offense, breaking 50-yard plus runs, 2 touchdowns in that game. Khalil Herbert he did the work. I might go Khalil Herbert over Javonte Williams, man. Call me crazy. So I think you might want to change that. And Cubanito Abreu, what's happening, man? Full PPR. Lazard, Ayuk, or McKenzie. Pick one. What did Ayuk do last week? $11 points, 8 targets in back-to-back weeks. Caught a touchdown last week, only caught 3 of the 8 targets, but still very usable usage. It's hard not to go back to Ayuk. I know people, including me, were very high on Lazard. And I think Lazard had a decent week too. Yeah, 90 he's had a touchdown in back-to-back weeks. You can't continue to count on that, but 6 targets last week with one touchdown. Honestly, I'm just going Ayuk. I'm going Ayuk. Riley VIP, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. Gabe Davis or Josh Reynolds? Oh, Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis. Tear break. Tear break. Those Lions wide receivers are break in case of emergency, guys. I think TJ Hawkinson is going to pick up a lot of the work here. I think that in terms of replacements, we look at Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison as basically on a weekly basis a 1-to-1 replacement for each other. When Dalvin Cook goes out, Alexander Madison's in, he's a high-end RB1. I think we need to look at Jamal Williams the same way in terms of DeAndre Swift. When DeAndre Swift is out, Jamal Williams is an RB1. So I don't know how much work Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond are going to pick up. One of them is probably going to have a decent day. But they're break in case of emergency, guys. There's a tier break with Gabe Davis. I'm sticking with Gabe Davis. Travis Heath. What's happening, man? Good to see you. Which quarterback should I stream, Mariota or Goff? It's tough this week because Goff he doesn't have his number 1 weapon. He doesn't have his top 2 weapons. But he has been playing so well. Mariota has a great floor. I think you roll with the guy that's been playing better, even though he doesn't have the weapons he normally does. Maybe I think who are the Lions playing? Seahawks. Oh, yeah. Just play Goff. He's been playing great. Fam first. Start 1 PPR. McLaurin, Olave, Bateman, and start 1 tight end Conklin, Irv Smith, or Tunyon. I'm going with Irv Smith out of those guys for the tight end. And for the start one PPR, it's really hard not to like Chris Olave this week with no Michael Thomas. We saw 13 targets from him when Michael Thomas was pulled out of the game. I think I'm going Terry McLaurin. I think I'm going Terry McLaurin. Oh, yo, Iron, that would be a cool jersey to get. Underrated player, man. And it was fun seeing him on Hard Knocks. I don't know how many of y'all watched Hard Knocks. It was fun to see Jamal Williams, the character that he is on Hard Knocks. Lincoln was here. Am I dumb to think Komet will eventually turn out like turn it around? Like they're averaging 100 yards passing. Do you think that they will turn it around, or am I wrong? I mean, there's only one way to go. They can't get worse. But Justin Fields is honestly, I'm a Bills fan. Have been for a long time. He reminds me of, and that team reminds me of the EJ Manuel Bills. Justin Fields looks lost. The arm talent is sometimes on display. That offense looks lost. Without Khalil Herbert last week, completely different situation. Yeah. I don't know if they turn it around. And I don't... Komet. That's the confounding thing. How does Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet not... How do Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet not have the production that they should have? You think this team is down a lot from behind, playing from behind, scrapping it out? They be playing and passing to their number one wide receiver and their number one, what should be their number two target and their tight end. But instead, Dante Pettis and Equanimeous St. Brown are getting hyper targeted. It's very strange. I can't say if they turn it around. I don't think they turn it around this year. If you're looking for a turnaround this year, I don't think it's there. If you're looking for a turnaround maybe within the next 2 to 3 years, possibly. Komet, I'm not out on in Dynasty. I'm holding him because he's still a young tight end. Typically, tight ends take until age 26, 25, 26 if they're elite to really start showing their colors in terms of what they can do for your fantasy team weekly. And I'm waiting on Komet. In terms of Justin Fields, it looks terrible. And it's on him. And it gives me EJ Manuel vibes. Somebody that's just... College was his... how the point at which he could, manage and work based off of his talent. But coming into the NFL, he just doesn't have what people were projecting him to have. Now, it has only been 3 games. Maybe they do pull it together. He does have the talent to work all of this out. But then he has he has the team in front of him. The team in front of him sucks. So he has to overcome some obstacles too. I don't think we're going to see it from Justin Fields this year. I think it's a next year type situation with Justin Fields. And I think it's a next year situation with this entire Bears offense. The Fields passing prop is so disrespectful. I haven't looked at it. Throw it in the chat. I want to see it. But I can only imagine. But full PPR, pick 1, ETN, London, Burks, Mackenzie, Dubs. London. Full PPR? London. Nemo. Team took a complete overhaul in the last 2 days. Traded Russ, Sutton, and Cook for Lamar, Bateman, and JD McKissick. And then traded Andrews for Connor, Amari Cooper, and Hawkinson. Damn. I like that Andrews deal. Amari Cooper and Hawkinson, plus an RB1 for at least this year, or at least an RB1 candidate weekly in Connor. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Neek, what's happening? Garrett Wilson or Ayuk, full PPR. This week I'm going Ayuk because we kind of know what to expect. We don't know what to expect with Garrett Wilson, with basically a new quarterback and the guy who should have been the regular season quarterback for the past few weeks in Zach Wilson. We need to see how he meshes. Is Zach Wilson still more of a Elijah Moore type hyper-targeting quarterback, or is he going to open it up to Garrett Wilson? Is Garrett Wilson going to see the target shares that he was getting with Joe Flacco? Remains to be seen. So I need to see it first. So I'm going with Brandon Ayuk. Jack Glimpse, Kamara if he plays, or Robinson. Kamara if he plays. You're playing a potential RB1 if he plays. You are. Even with a bad quarterback, maybe even more with a bad quarterback, a backup quarterback in Andy Dalton, who's not terrible by any means. He's probably one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. So, yeah, Kamara. And if he doesn't play, then Robinson. But Kamara. Lucius, Deontay Johnson or Chris Olave, half PPR. Deontay Johnson has been getting the work. He has. Mitchell Trubisky is just awful. Deontay Johnson has been getting 12 targets, 10 targets, and 11 targets. That's his target numbers through 3 weeks. Those are Amon-Ra level target levels. Amon-Ra plays with a much better quarterback, but he's getting the work. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but he hasn't had less than 6 receptions for 55 yards. It's a great PPR total for as far as what you can expect from a floor. That'll get you to that 10-point floor. He hasn't had a ceiling game yet. He's going against the New York Jets. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet. Maybe this is the week where he scores his touchdown. His yards per reception, his yards per catch has gone up in every single week for whatever that matters. His snap percentage has gone up every week for however that matters to you. Deontay Johnson is such a good wide receiver. I think you stick with him, even though Chris Olave has that 13 target upside too. But so does Deontay. Chris Olave, yes, it's Andy Dalton. Deontay. Sheldon, much appreciated, man. Much appreciated. That's the purpose, I guess, right? Yeah. Should I go with Mike Williams or Ramondre in the flex full PPR? You go with Mike Williams. Didn't have a great week last week, but you go with Mike Williams. I really like Ramondre this week. I've contemplated throwing out a few deals for him in certain leagues. But you roll with Mike Williams, who is a wide receiver 1, especially in a spot where Keenan Allen is probably not going to play again. And yes, Justin Herbert is coming off of 4 broken ribs or rib cartilage injuries. But Mike Williams is in a prime spot to explode again like he did 2 weeks ago. Don't let 1 week take you off of playing your wide receiver 1 there. And how do you feel about Irv Smith or Bob Tonyan full PPR? I've cooled a little bit on Robert Tonyan. He still has the upside that we talked about in the all off season, which was, the top 4 upside that he showed 2 years ago, where he was the tight end 4 behind 11 touchdowns. He has that upside. His snap share needs to grow, and this offense needs to get a little better, because this offense just isn't even getting to the red zone. And when it is, the touchdowns have gone to other players. But once his snap share, because he is coming off of an ACL injury, once his snap share gets up to 70, 80, then he'll be playable. I don't know if Tonyan is playable yet over a guy like Irv Smith, who is getting a lot, much more of the work. Now, Robert Tonyan's snap share did go up to 58. His targets were at 7 last game. Very low ADOT, not valuable. Maybe he has a better game this week with a little bit more of a snap share. Irv Smith is 1 week removed from having a touchdown. He's tight end 18 on the year. 8 targets week 2, 6 targets week 3. I think you can roll him out with a little bit more confidence than you can roll Robert Tonyan out with just right now. But Robert Tonyan still does have that top 4 upside once he gets that full-time role and the confidence of the coaching staff and the health staff to give him that full-time role. Eric Lanier, good to see you. Been offered Kyle Pitts for George Kittle and Cam Akers. Need to free up a bench spot anyways. Thoughts? What kind of situation is this? Is this redraft? Is this dynasty? That plays into this trade. And when you guys throw me trade questions, do let me know that, because I'm going to assume that they're redraft trades because we're in redraft season, unless you tell me otherwise. So clarify that, Eric, and then I'll answer that right away. Iron, would you trade away Bateman and Gibson for Olave in Dynasty? It's too much, I think, and I think you are right. I like Olave a lot. I do, but I like Bateman just as much, and giving Bateman up and a running back who has been nothing but a top 14 running back for the entirety of his career. Too much, but I like Olave. Fabian, would you say that about Fields, but the Bears have given him by far the worst receiving core in the league? Yeah, and his O-line isn't good either. Fields passing props around 147 yards, nuts. Yeah, see? It's bad. It's bad. We're not, but and to your point about the Bears not having a good wide receiver core. I mean, they're not going to have a good wide receiver core until next year. We won't see the ceiling that we projected for Fields until next year. They also need to get better on the O-line. They also just need more playmakers elsewhere. They do. And it's not without, like, it could come into play where, hey, how high was everybody on Adam Troutman a few years ago? Same draft class, I believe. Look at what's happened to him. He's been overtaken by more of a playmaker. He still plays a valuable percent of snaps for the NFL team, still a valuable NFL asset, not a fantasy one. The same thing could happen to Cole Kmet. He's a borderline elite level athlete. He's in the 8 range in terms of RAS score. He could just be one of those guys who's a very good NFL tight end, but not a very good weekly option in fantasy. So we need to wait on Fields. And Iron, I hope Tua gets well soon. Any news on him? Yeah, man, that whole situation was terrible. He never should have been playing in that game 5 days removed from getting a concussion, where they had to evaluate him in the locker room. Honestly, they probably shouldn't have let him back into the Bills game. Because I went back and watched that injury. I don't like going back and watching injuries. Definitely not head injuries. That it's always tough to watch, but I did. They probably shouldn't have let him back in that game, considering how he was stumbling after that play. But they brought him back in that game. He finished out the game. And they let him play 5 days removed. Like, it's and that injury was one of the worst head injuries I think I've ever seen. Like, that was scary. He wasn't moving after, seizing up there. It was The reporter already came down. Like, somebody got fired. So the independent evaluator got fired. Got terminated. Rightfully so. But, like, that can't happen. You don't treat your franchise quarterback like that. And the last quarterback that I know of to really have concussion issues, and I hate to say this in comparison, I'm not making the comparison talent-wise, Kevin Kolb slipped on a mat on his birthday and it ended his career because he got a concussion to the point where he could not be in a room with bright lights. That happened. Tua, and I'm not saying this is a career ender, but they should play the long game with this injury. They should not be trying to rush him back on the field, because 2 weeks of sustained concussions like that, severe sustained concussions, brain injuries, bad. Like, you don't play around with that. It's insane that was even allowed to happen. I hope he gets well soon too. Prayers up for Tua. You already know Twitter was a flame with that, rightfully so again, on Thursday night. So now we do have to think about it from a fantasy perspective, because we are a fantasy channel. This is obviously a downgrade for everybody not named Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill is going to get hyper targeted like we saw in that game with Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is not an elite quarterback. He's not even a very good quarterback. He's an average quarterback that hyper targets his number one target. This is going to be bad news for Jalen Waddle. This is bad news for Mike Gesicki. This is bad news for the running backs, because the offense isn't going to be in the red zone so much. But Tyreek Hill is still going to eat. So in terms of fantasy situation ramifications here with the Tua injury, obviously you don't want to think about it from that perspective, but that is the deal. Demok, what's good, man? Would you start Irv Smith or Taysom Hill? Drafted Cole Kmet. Irv Smith. I'm just not a fan of relying on Taysom Hill and his splash plays, because I know that they're exciting. I know that he is technically a league-winning play when he does what he does off of a 12% snap share. But I'd rather go with somebody in a good offense that has a 50 to 60% snap share over a guy that has a 12% snap share playing gadget plays that typically go in. Now, if Kamara is not playing, if Kamara is ruled out, then I think you play Taysom Hill, because then I think they are going to use him. They're going to put even more of an emphasis on using him in a gadget role. But if Kamara's playing, play Irv Smith. Kels, good to see you, man. Zay Jones or Ramondre in the flex. Thoughts on Alec Pierce? Ramondre Stevenson. Big fan of Ramondre Stevenson this week. And thoughts on Alec Pierce? I mean, he's a rookie wide receiver playing in an offense that I had higher hopes for, but hasn't been performing great. I mean, he's been playing under 51% of snaps through this early running here. I don't expect much from him. I really don't. Not in year one, and honestly, he was not really high on my draft list either for anybody here who plays Dynasty. If you are paying attention to this channel, you know how Nick and I feel about Alec Pierce. He has all the physical tools in the world, but he put up bad numbers at a small school and was drafted based off of athletic measurables and ooh-ah from the Combine and Senior Bowl. He still has the upside, but I am not hype on him realizing the upside that at least got him drafted in the second round. I always thought that was crazy. Winston DeVarius, what's happening, man? Mike Williams or Mike Evans? Tough decision. I mean, Mike Evans has his quarterback. Mike Williams does too. No Keenan Allen. Mike Williams coming back. He might be real hungry. I think Mike Evans is the floor, and I think both have an incredible ceiling. I think I'll go Mike Evans. You drafted him earlier. You had to sit him 1 week. Sucked. I think you play him now that you have him again. He is a weekly wide receiver 1. And they haven't been able to rely on Russell Gage or Julio Jones. They needed Mike Evans last week. So Mike Evans, I like Mike Williams, obviously. I would try to find a way to get him in your lineup. What's the rest of your lineup that's making you make this decision? Because I'm trying to play Mike Williams too. But if I have to pick between one of those two, it's Mike Evans. Iron, I got Dylan from Madison from the Cook owner. Damn. That's a win. It's a win and a half. Nice deal. Nemo, start 3. Who's the odd man out? Gabe Davis, Amari Cooper, Bateman, or Palmer? Palmer is the odd man out. But I'd play those top 3. Kels, would you pick up Rondale Moore and drop Nico Collins? Also, would you rather have Randall Moore or Alec Pierce? I'm guessing that's Rondale as well. Honestly, bro, I'd rather have Greg Dortch if he's available. If you have a choice between anybody in Arizona and Rondale Moore, like Greg Dortch has been everything that they wanted out of Rondale Moore. I like Nico Collins, but if Greg Dortch is out there, bro, like maybe pick him up. But if you have to choose between Rondale and Nico, I think I'm sticking with Nico. The modern dog. Tony Pollard or A.J. Dillon or Stevenson, pick 2. A.J. Dillon and Ramondre Stevenson. Kels, is Devontae Parker a good pickup? I mean, he's playable if you need somebody. Is he a good pickup? I mean, wide receiver 5. Wide receiver 5 is, I mean, you're hoping for a wide receiver 4 performance. He's not a good pickup. If you need him, there are worse guys to pick up. I don't know how much help that is. Kyle, also a question by Kyler Murray or Jared Goff this week? Kyler Murray still has that top 3 upside. Kyler Murray. G-Boss, should I trade Austin Eckler for Javonte Williams? No. Hold on to Eckler, man. I think there will be better days. Hold on to Eckler. Tarnveer, Soroya, what's happening, man? Good to see you. Welcome to the channel. London or Reynolds, PPR League? London, for sure. Fabian Verka in redraft for my backup tight end spot. Do I hold on to Komet or swap him for the likes of Hurst, Logan Thomas, Saints, Patriots tight ends, or Albert O? I think that you can move on from Komet. He's a very, 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 very back end TE2. I'd rather have Alberto. I'd rather have Alberto. I'd rather have Logan Thomas. I'd rather have Hayden Hurst. If I had to choose, I think I'd choose Hayden Hurst. Best offense. If T. Higgins continues to get banged up, they're going to rely on Hayden Hurst a little bit more, even though they do have Tyler Boyd that they can just promote up one spot to slide into T. Higgins' spot. They're going to have to rely a little bit more on Hurst. And Drew Sample, who was their blocking tight end, got injured and is out for the season. So Hurst is a full-time player in that offense. Nobody's coming to steal any snaps from Hayden Hurst. I like Hayden Hurst. Iron, can't wait for JMO. Hope he's on fire. I'm interested to see what happens there. I'm interested to see how JMO's presence impacts Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm interested to see how much better this offense gets if he's, miles ahead of DJ Chark and what Chark can give you. I'm interested to see a lot about what this offense is going to be moving forward. But it is a good offense to be a part of when all players in that offense are healthy. That Lions offense is very good when everybody's healthy. Alex Contreras, what's happening? Start one running back and one flex. Dobbins, Pollard, Jacobs, Ayuk, Pitts, Olave, or Devonta Smith. Jacobs, because he's the best bet for just solid RB2 value. Pollard, you're hoping will give you RB2 value, has been providing that on limited snaps, but he's not the RB1 in that offense. And Dobbins, hard to trust right now. Hard to trust. And this team might get schemed away from running the ball early on if the Bills catch fire in what should be a game that the Bills want to get back on track for. So they're probably just going to come out the gate firing. It could force the Ravens into a pass-heavy game script. And we've seen that they have no issues using Justice Hill, which I never thought I would. That is a phrase I never thought I'd be saying in 2022. But the Ravens have no issues using Justice Hill in a pseudo RB1 role until J.K. Dobbins gets back up to speed. So I'm waiting on J.K. Dobbins until, a few weeks removed from him being on this pitch count. I'm going Jacobs and in the flex between Olave and Devonta Smith. That's tough. Who are the Saints are obviously playing the Vikings. I think I'd rather be playing Devonta Smith. The Jacksonville Jaguars are I mean, they could run up the score with the Eagles. Like they could be in a shootout. I think I'm going Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith. In the flex. Kels, Cortland Sutton, or Ramondre Stevenson in the flex. Cortland Sutton. He's been on fire for the past few weeks. Now, just out of curiosity, PPR still? Half PPR? Nemo Bellinger season, man, that could be. He's looked pretty decent for a rookie tight end. He has. Wiznaha. I think that's how I'm sorry. I'm just gonna call you Wiz because I apologize. Normally I'm good at pronouncing names. I don't know if I can get that one without somebody saying it to me. Romeo Dubs or DJ Moore this week. DJ Moore, man. Tear break. I know he has not looked good with Baker Mayfield. But DJ Moore, man. Riley VIP. Irv Smith or Tunyon PPR. Irv Smith for this week. Nemo. Cards worthy of stream this week against Carolina. Honestly, yeah. Carolina looks terrible. Carolina looks bad. So yeah, they're worth the stream. Am I expecting much? No. I would hope that there are better options out there. What are the other options? Senor Rojo, good afternoon to you too. You need 2 out of 3. PPR, Alex Pierce, Robert Woods, Craig Reynolds, Treylon Burks, much appreciated. Hey, much appreciated to you too. Treylon Burks. And Robert Woods. He got 9 targets last week, 85 yards. On a 72% snap share. 10 fantasy points. I'm rolling that back out there. I'm going Treylon Burks and Robert Woods. Kels, is Bellinger the real deal? Hey, look. This is what I can say about Bellinger. He's got his target competition. It's not very good. The team doesn't want to play Kenny Golladay. The team doesn't want to play Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney and Wan'Dale Robinson are unhealthy right now. They've been banged up. And they just haven't been playing well once they've been in the game, when they've been in the games this season. And we all know that Sterling Shepard is out for the year. And who's going to pick up the slack? The team has to pass. Are they going to be effective at it? No. But who are they going to pass to? Especially when the O-line pretty much guarantees that the quarterback is going to be under duress. The running back, short dump offs. Tight end. And Daniel Bellinger was one of the few tight ends in this draft class that had an RAS above 9. That's relative athletic score. And for those that don't know, relative athletic score, in terms of what that means for a tight end, it's on a scale of 1 to 10. 4.55 is average for anybody coming into the league. And you're not considered elite unless you have an RAS above 9. And if you look at the tight ends who have done very well for themselves in fantasy, Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Logan Thomas, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, all those, Kyle Pitts, those names, they're all RAS above 9 having tight ends. Daniel Bellinger is one of those guys. So he could be the real deal. He is going to get the target share out of necessity. Nemo, is Justice Hill worth an ad? Yeah, because he could perform like an RB3 this week. He could. Sway Poppy, should I trade for Amari? Should I trade for Amari for Debo? No. No. I'd still rather have Debo. I really like what Amari's been doing. Still would rather have Debo. Kels, that was PPR. Cortland Sutton. Yep. Logan, do I start Jared Goff or Geno Smith? You start Jared Goff, even with his diminished weapons. You do. Max Fire, good to see you, man. How you been? And Logan, do I start Elijah Moore, Dotson, or Pickens? Yo, I think if you might start Elijah Moore this week. If you have to pick out of those guys, we know what Zach Wilson can do with Elijah Moore. Guy he already has rapport with. Elijah Moore out of that group. Elijah Moore. Iron, great run from Jahmyr Gibbs, by the way. I got to see it. I haven't seen it. Fabian, Komet, Brait, or Bellinger to keep on the bench? I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Brait. If I had to choose out of those guys, I mean, I guess it's still Komet. I like Bellinger a lot, but I think it is still Komet because there's just I gotta hope that it's gonna get better for the top two targets in this offense at some point. If it's when the team is without their number one running back, I mean, if it doesn't happen now, when is it gonna happen? Komet for one more week. Nemo, Bellinger the new Conklin. I like that comp, but Bellinger has more upside. Conklin does not have an RAS above 9. And Sway Poppy, you meant Amari for Debo. Oh, absolutely. Yes, go get Debo. He is still a top 10 option, especially with Jimmy Garoppolo at QB. Yeah, do that. Kels, Jahan Dotson, or Nico Collins, who do you believe in redraft for the rest of the season? Jahan Dotson is the better quarterback. Nico Collins has more of a target share. Davis Mills is what I thought he was. He's not good. They will be playing from behind in most games. There will be garbage time, targets and yards, air yards, all that available for Nico Collins. I think Jahan Dotson is a much more talented wide receiver. He has a nose for the end zone. We've seen him be heavily utilized early on before Curtis Samuel really asserted himself and Logan Thomas came back, but he still has, 2 touchdown a game upside. He does. He showed it in his first game. And he's caught another touchdown since. I think I roll with Dotson, man. Rest of season. First round draft capital. Nico Collins, I think, was a 3rd or 4th round pick. Dotson. Iron 2 TDs and 206 rushing yards for Jahmyr Gibbs. Man, hey, with more performances like that, he's going to get drafted not too far behind Bijan Robinson next year. I'm excited for Jahmyr. I'm hoping that I get him in a few dynasty leagues. Chris Kreider pick 2. Brandon Cooks, Jeff Wilson, AJ Dillon, Damian Harris. What is the scoring? What's the scoring, man? AJ Dillon. Pretty much for sure. That out of those guys, he's a lock for me. And if it's half PPR or PPR, I think I'm going Brandon Cooks. Because he hasn't had a ceiling game like we've seen from him. He's the wide receiver 50 on the year, where we're used to him being a top 16 wide receiver. It hasn't been for lack of usage, though. 12 targets, 10 targets, 7 targets through 3 weeks. He's going up against the Chargers this week. They're going to need him this week. I think you go with Brandon Cooks. I think you go with Brandon Cooks. I don't think he's cooked yet. I think you still got it. I think this is the week where you get back on track. Max Fire, is Amon-Ra a 22-year-old Cooper Kupp? No. And Chris Kreider, full PPR. Yeah, Brandon Cooks, man. Brandon Cooks. But Max, to your Amon-Ra question, he's not a 22-year-old Cooper Kupp yet. I was trying to think of a good comp for him earlier. And what I think Amon-Ra might be is like Cooper Kupp. He was a top 4 wide receiver earlier in his career. He's been a top 16, a high-end wide receiver 2 wide receiver earlier in his career. Obviously, right now with the good quarterback, for the first time in his career, elite wide receiver 1. I don't think Amon-Ra St. Brown is an elite wide receiver 1 yet. It is only an 8-game sample size. It is over the span of 2 seasons, which makes it that much more encouraging. And I have seen enough to have him in my top 14. If he was in my top 12, he would probably be 12. I need to see a little bit more work from him before I put him anywhere near Cooper Kupp. I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown, though. I'm just going through my head trying to think of a comp. How big is Amon-Ra St. Brown? Let's go to his player profiler page. .5'11", 197, and a target hog wide receiver. Honestly, you know who he reminds me of? Amon-Ra St. Brown reminds me more of Robert Woods, prime Robert Woods, than he does Cooper Kupp right now. Robert Woods was, in his own right, a top 10 wide receiver multiple times. Robert Woods, in his own right, was perennially in that Rams offense a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside. What did he do that off of? A lot of usage. He got a really decent amount of. He had a very good target floor. I think Amon-Ra is a better Robert Woods. Is he a Cooper Kupp? Not yet. But if he can put together a 16-game sample size, if he continues to play like this as soon as he comes back, even with Jameson Williams in the fold, that's the other question. When Jameson Williams comes into the fold, which is a question we've already been asked or posed, we need to see how Amon-Ra fits into that puzzle. Because it's very encouraging. He's made basically TJ Hawkinson unusable. Very encouraging. Sucks for our TJ Hawkinson shares. But I think the book is still out on whether we're going to be comparing him to the best wide receiver over the last 2 seasons. Nemo, no Keenan, so still go Bateman over Palmer? Yes. Yep. Nemo, Saquon running like he wants to prove a point. Maybe a return to the RB1 throne. Could be, man. We speculated all year, all offseason, about Saquon, and Nick was the first one to it. Said, yo, Saquon's going to be back. I jumped on that bandwagon early. Saquon's going to be back. Look at what Saquon's been doing, even in a crappy offense. The lack of weapons helps him because he needs to be relied upon more in the pass game. Has a great floor. Has a ceiling like pretty much no other running back in the league outside of Jonathan Taylor and CMC. Like, yeah, he wants that RB1 throne, man. He could get it too. My team is Stafford, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, Elijah Moore, T.J. Hawkinson, Jacoby Myers. My bench sucks. I don't really like my team. What trade should I look for? 12-man, 75-point PPR. 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex, 1 tight end league. I mean, it sucks that you can't rely on Myers. What is your bench? Because 2 running back, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, 3 wide receiver. I see you there, tight end and the flex. What is your bench? But you can't trade Elijah Moore right now. You can't trade T.J. Hawkinson right now. Honestly, if you really want to, like, if you're struggling, if you're 0-3 and you just want to turn your team around, I think it's okay to trade one of your top assets and get a couple of lesser ones to make the rest of your team better. I do think it's all right. JT, think about trading him for a very good RB2 and a wide receiver that can push Elijah Moore down into your flex spot and Myers onto your bench, right? Maybe I don't think you deal Cooper Kupp, but maybe you diversify a little bit with JT. But I would keep the Stafford Cooper Kupp stack intact. See what you can get for, honestly, no. Hold on to JT. With Dobbins coming back and being healthy and all the reports on Dobbins, you haven't been able to rely on Dobbins. Trade Dobbins. I do think there will be better days for Dobbins, but you can trade him now off of speculation. And you can probably get, a running back. Maybe you could trade Dobbins for Elijah Mitchell plus and get a wide receiver that can move your Elijah Moore down. Fabian Verka, I'm 1-2 in a 12-man league, and this is my first year. Is it a good strategy not to go for any waivers as I'm in first priority, and just wait until someone drops a stud? No, if there's a player that warrants you grabbing, you get him. Last year, for me, and this is a league that I won the league in, I spent 80% of my fab on Elijah Mitchell week 2. If and when a player like that comes up where he is a clear rest of season value, don't be afraid to spend your waiver on it. Don't wait. But right now, I mean, There isn't really anybody like that. You have the first priority. And you're using waivers, so you're not using fab, but, you know, yeah, so wait. But you also, like, just, you want to win. If there's a person that's on, or a defense or a kicker or whatever that is on the wire that can help you win, it can make your team better, don't be afraid to use it off of hope that somebody might drop somebody in week 12 when you're already out of it. If you need to win right now, you're 1-2, and there's a player that can help you win, use your waiver claim. And Sway Poppy, yeah, I guess pause when I was talking about Ross St. Brown. Alex Contreras, Joe Mixon for Justin Jefferson. Which side wins? What's the format? It's hard not to say the Justin Jefferson side wins. But honestly, if you need running back and you're very good at wide receiver, maybe you drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown late, maybe you drafted Curtis Samuel late, maybe you drafted Christian Kirk late, and you're set at wide receiver and you feel like you can let go of a Justin Jefferson and bolster your running backs if you didn't hit on your running backs, and get a Joe Mixon. It really depends what kind of situation you're in with a deal like that. In a vacuum, to me, Justin Jefferson. But depending on what your team needs, that's not a bad trade for either side. Val's the GOAT. Should I trade Conklin and Bateman for Goddard? Nope. Gets Mooney, Palmer, McKissick, Conklin, Justice Hill, and Kadarius Toney. That's your bench. And you got Palmer in over Myers. I mean, Mooney's, again, he's just like wait and see. I don't really like McKissick, Conklin, Justin Hills, Toney. Not the greatest bench. Palmer is a great guy to have to just stick in your lineup, especially with what's going on with Keenan Allen right now. Mooney is a complete question mark. I'm dealing with a Mooney pick in my league too, and he's just unreliable. You cannot use him right now until further notice. So it sucks, but that's still a wait and see. I like Palmer. If you can mix it up with your bench outside of that, maybe see if you can. Out of those guys, I mean, I think right now, Conklin and Hill are the most usable. Which, again, I never would have predicted early coming into the year. Nemo, when Renfro comes back, how does my wide receiver room look? Cooper Kupp, Gabe Davis, Rashad Bateman, Hunter Renfro, Josh Palmer. Looks all right. Can't hate on Coop. Can't hate on Gabe. Can't hate on Bateman. I like those top three. When Renfro comes back, he does have top 15 upside. We saw it last season for a whole year. And I like Palmer. So, yeah. And just traded Patterson and Connor for JT. Ooh, nice. Fabian, please don't tell me you had a chance to get Herbert and you didn't. Yeah, see. That's the type of thing that I would, or Jamal Williams. Like if you're 1-1 or you're 1-2-0 or 1-0-2 and you have the number one waiver priority, it's to make you better. So use it. There's no guarantee that somebody is going to drop a stud late in the year. And even then, once that happens, it might be too late. You can't let the chances to get these blue chip prospects, after they fire in week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. That's the most important time to go after these guys. Ricardo Rodriguez, Amari Cooper, or Christian Kirk this week. I'm going back to the guy that has a better quarterback. Now, Christian Kirk, there's a chance that he gets shut down by Darius Slay, who is playing like the best cornerback in the league right now. And there is a chance that, Jacoby Brissett just has now seen the value of Amari Cooper and will continue to hyper-target him. And the Browns don't have a scary matchup. They're playing the Falcons. But Christian Kirk has been too good to sit him. Christian Kirk is an unstarted, you can't sit him. He's unsittable at this point. Look at what Christian Kirk has done through 3 weeks. He's the wide receiver 8 14 points week 1, 22 points week 2 against Indianapolis, 16 points week 3. Never had less than a 90% snap share. Has had a 12 target game. Has had a 2 touchdown game. Not too many other wide receivers can say that through 3 weeks. I know he's playing up against one of the best, if not the best cornerback in the league right now, in Darius Slay. But I think he's playing too good right now to sit him. And yo, JP, thank you so much for the super. Much appreciated. Very, very kind of you. Very generous. Let's see if I can get you an answer for your question. 0-3. Sorry to hear that. Made some moves. Current lineup: 10-man PPR. Quarterback Wilson. I'm guessing Russell. Running back Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams. Wide receiver Michael Pittman, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore. Or is that DJ Moore? Correct me if I'm wrong. DJ Moore. There you go. All right. Flex Pierce and Dylan. It's 2 flex. Bench is Trevor Lawrence, DJ Chark, Greg Dortch, Darrell Henderson, Zay Jones, Michael Gallup. Need advice. I mean, your running backs are solid. Aaron Jones has been giving you those ceiling weeks. Javonte Williams has been all right. He hasn't been what many people wanted, but he's been all right, and we know what he has the ceiling for. Wide receivers, Pittman, you couldn't start him in week 2. Or one of the week, yeah, I believe it was week 2. Bateman, he's been a little bit overshadowed by the likes of Mark Andrews and even Devin Duvernay, just getting more touchdowns than him. DJ Moore has not had a connection with Baker Mayfield through 3 weeks. In terms of moves you can make, you already made some moves. But in terms of, needing advice, it's hard not to say, like, you kind of just got to stick with it. You can't trade Bateman for much right now, or more for much right now. People are wondering whether or not you play Bateman or Josh Reynolds in the chat. I don't know if you can, like, Bateman's going to have a ceiling game before you can get the requisite value for Bateman, at which case you probably just want to keep Bateman once he hits that ceiling game, because maybe he gets unlocked from there. You're not in a position to trade any of your running backs, because while I like your running backs, it is a slightly shallower group. Yes, you can play Aaron Jones every week. Yes, you can play Javonte Williams every week. Honestly, I'd play Dylan over Pierce if it was 1 flex. But if it's 2 flex, yeah, you're playing both. Your bench isn't great. Maybe Michael Gallup can jumpstart things, but Chark's value is only going to decline once Jameson Williams comes into the fold. The only thing is, you might start playing Trevor Lawrence over Russell Wilson at some point, because you don't have a stack. So that might be a move. That might be a move that you make. Maybe you just starting Trevor Lawrence over Russell Wilson, because if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, Trevor Lawrence is better on the year than Russell Wilson so far. Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback 10 through 3 weeks. Russell Wilson is the quarterback 24, so that's a change you can make. And, with DJ Moore, maybe Baker shows some rapport with him, but you're getting Gallup back, and Dak comes back at some point. So at some point, by like week 8, Gallup might be startable over Moore, which is crazy. Nobody ever predicted that. But Gallup was a 1,000-yard receiver with Dak earlier in his career when he was playing as the wide receiver 2. Now he's going to be playing as the wide receiver 2. There are rumors that he's already healthy, so all he's waiting for is a healthy Dak, who is apparently already throwing at practice. So, that might be a move that just happens for you at some point in the very near future. You just move from DJ Moore, who can't be relied upon with Baker Mayfield, to a Gallup who will be able to be relied upon with Dak. So honestly, I know this sucks when you're 0-3, but sometimes you just got to stick it out. Now, the one move you could make is moving away from Aaron Jones, because you do have A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones has had a few good weeks. They haven't been ceiling weeks for A.J. Dillon, but you have the one in Dillon on any given week. And he's an RB2 with RB1 upside on any given week. So move Trevor Lawrence in for Wilson. Maybe see if you can capitalize on a stack and get Christian Kirk for DJ Moore and Aaron Jones. Get Christian Kirk plus another running back. And is this a non-tight end league? But really, again, even with trading Aaron Jones, I wouldn't. I think that might not be something I recommend either, because your running back core is kind of limited. You don't want to be in a situation where you have to start Henderson. So yeah, put Trevor Lawrence in and hold out hope that either DJ Moore figures it out with Baker Mayfield. If not, Gallup will be back soon enough. There's nothing wrong with your lineup. That's the thing. I like Bateman. I like Pittman. I like Moore. I like Javonte. I like Aaron Jones. I like Pearson Dillon. Sometimes weeks just don't go your way. You never want to hear that. Like, you might just need to stand pat. But make the quarterback switch. Hopefully Gallup can come in and save the day for Moore, or Moore just gets his head on straight. And, you know, I think that Bateman is going to start to have better days than Duvernay. And Pittman will go back to having his ceiling games at some point, like he did in week 1. So you might have just had a bad 3-week stretch. I think your team is solid. Your starters are all right. You should be able to win some games moving forward, and hopefully the quarterback switch helps you out. Elias, who should I start at flex? James Robinson, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Herbert, Breece Hall. Khalil Herbert this week. Fabian, you got Mixon, Javonte Williams or Jamal Williams, and ETN. Didn't need Herbert. You know, Benjamin is probably the best option I could go for right now. I mean, I'd hold, because, you know, but I would have picked up Herbert. That's the thing. But yeah, you don't rush to pick up, you know. I would hold it for this week, and hopefully something happens to where you can use it to your benefit next week. Nemo, gotta go Texas, about to play West Virginia. All right, word. See you in the morning, man. Have a good rest of your night. Thanks for chilling. Val's the GOAT. Full PPR, 12-man. My team is Russ, Najee, Saquon, Sutton, Hollywood, Conklin, Knox, Bateman, Zeke, Gabe, Khalil Herbert. I'm 1-2. Should I make a move or stay put? I mean, it's tough having Russ. I would, like, if I'm making a move and I have Russ, I'm seeing what I can do to get off of Russ and get a better quarterback. If you're in a 12-man league, there might be a better option on the waiver wire. It's been a little bit rough sledding with Najee, but you roll him out. Saquon's been great. Sutton's been great. Hollywood, you know, it's been a little hit or miss, but I feel like we always knew it was. If it's 3 wide receiver, I think I'm playing Bateman over Hollywood. Conklin and Knox, that's an area of upgrade too. If you picked up Khalil Herbert, considering you have Najee and Saquon, maybe trying to trade Khalil Herbert right now for a tight end and a QB upgrade. Package Herbert with Knox and Rush to get a clear upgrade from a team that has a much better quarterback and tight end combination. Because your wide receivers are solid, your running back solid, Zeke at RB3 very solid. So try to upgrade at quarterback and tight end if you can, and capitalize on the hype that is surrounding Khalil Herbert, because while I do like him a lot, I don't think your team absolutely needs him. And you can make your team better for the rest of the year. Gitch thinks Fabian should have still got him. Yeah, I do too. And JP, once again, thank you for the super. I know it hurts to hear. You might just need to stay pat. But stay pat, stay strong. Let's hope we turn it around this week. VJ Money. Should I trade Mark Andrews and Miles Sanders and for T. Higgins and Patterson and Dawson Knox? You're completely tanking your tight end spot, where you have arguably the best tight end, situation in the league right now. And Miles Sanders has been a solid RB2. What are you getting in this deal? A guy that's been performing like an RB1 and a currently injured wide receiver who's been performing like a wide receiver too. I think I stay pat with Mark Andrews and Miles Sanders and redraft, man. Because, Dawson Knox is borderline not reliable right now. Alex Contreras, what's happening? Again, or not what's happening. You've been in the chat. My bad. Fournette or Javonte, rest of season. Fournette, he just has that workload. Fabian, true, but this is also a Bears asset. To what point? Sorry, I'm scrolling up to see what the last Bears clarify that for me. Sorry about that. JP, Javonte is just script proof, hard to bench him. Yeah, it is hard to bench Javonte. But if you have a guy that is projected for a full-time workload, who has, is coming off a 2-touchdown game like I think Jamal Williams had, or 2-touchdown game like Khalil Herbert has. I mean, I might play one of those guys over him this week, but Javonte is script proof, great rest of the season. Hard to bench him. Obviously, has RB1 upside, elite RB1 upside if anything were to happen to Melvin Gordon. JP, would you start DJ Moore this week over any of my benches? No, I'd start DJ Moore. Tier break. Hope for another week, and then if that doesn't happen, Gallup's back. Hopefully he starts to show something, and maybe you can swerve. Fabian, if Moore don't produce this week versus the Cardinals, then I don't know what to do with them. It's a tough situation. Baker has issues utilizing his and unlocking his playmakers. We saw it with Cleveland with OBJ and to a certain extent Landry. It's happening with DJ Moore. Doesn't look good. Cali Loco, would you drop Jalen Warren or Gallup for Treylon Burks? You don't have Najee. I would drop Jalen Warren, but I like Jalen Warren, but I like Treylon Burks a little more. And if you are in the position where you need to use him, then you make the move. Elias, who do I start at flex? Breece Hall, Khalil Herbert, James Robinson, Curtis Samuel. This week, it's Khalil Herbert is the start of the week. Callie, you got Dak on IR? All right. So you can't put Gallup there, and you have Gallup and a Dak stack once both are healthy and back. All right. I mean, I would do that, I guess. Yeah. You don't have Najee. If you need somebody to spot start again for this week, for the next few weeks until Gallup gets up to speed and Dak comes back fully healthy, Treylon Burks is not a bad guy to do that with. VJ Money, should I trade Andrews and Miles Sanders for T. Higgins, Knox? And yeah, you already asked that. And your running backs are Zeke and Kamara, not the best. And my wide receivers are Waddle and Marquise Brown. It's not great, especially with the situation with Tua, impacting negatively. Our Waddle moving forward for a little bit, and Marquise Brown being boomer bust at best. And Kamara really not being able to. We haven't been able to rely upon him through 3 weeks, even though I still think he's an RB1 candidate weekly when he plays. I still don't make the trade. I like Patterson a lot, but we saw Patterson fade last year. So Patterson is a guy I believe that can get you to the championship. I don't think he's going to win you one. Dawson Knox, I don't know if he's a good substitute for Andrews at this point right now. Be shooting a little bit higher for that. And T. Higgins just got injured again. He's been injured twice this year. I know he has all the talent in the world, but if I'm trading the best tight end in the league right now, I want everybody that I'm getting in return to be healthy to help me win right now. So try to figure out a different trade, where you upgrade at every position, maybe not tight end, but, every other position clearly, and everybody's healthy. Callie, Tunyon or Knox this week? At that point, Knox. But Tunyon's catching up. This could be the week for the changing of the guard there, where Tunyon starts being the guy you want over Knox. Cali Loco, I'm benching Wentz for Geno. Thoughts? I don't know if I would do that. Wentz has by far the better playmakers. And let's see. Versus the Cowboys. And the Seahawks play. Where are they at? Lions. No, I'm playing Wentz. I would advocate you play Wentz. Iron, have fun watching that game. Lucas Blackmore, start one in the flex, full PPR. A.J. Dillon, James Conner, or Damian Pierce. I'm going A.J. Dillon. Actually, is James Conner all the way healthy? Because then I think... Yeah, I think it's James Conner. Smart play is James Conner. But I'm trying to find a way to get A.J. Dillon into my lineup. And Fabian, thanks for chilling, man. Much appreciated. Have yourself a great evening. And if you have any more questions, we're live 10 a.m. EST tomorrow. So after the start of the Saints-Vikings game, so remember to get all your questions or lineup situations, all that into the chat tonight. And make your lineup set for that tomorrow. But I will be live here again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. EST, 3 hours before kickoff, and answering all the questions in the chat up until then for everybody. So, but peace, Fabian. Thanks for chilling. And we have reached the end of the chat. Do we have any more questions here? We are only an hour and 49 minutes in. But let me know. Any more questions in the chat? I know I was answering questions in the Discord for 2 hours before the stream, but there's got to be some more questions than this. Going once, going twice. Well, I mean, if there are no more questions, I might start thinking of shutting this down, making it a little bit shorter of a stream tonight, I guess, just by nature of no questions to answer. But if you have any that arise over the course of the next 8 hours, make sure to join our 10 a.m. stream. We are live weekly every day throughout the fantasy season. 6 p.m. EST Saturday, 6 p.m. EST Tuesday, and 10 a.m. on excuse me. No, man. Sunday. And for you members out there, if anybody's interested in being a member of this channel, we have 2 extra streams a week for the members on Wednesday and Thursday. And this coming week, we actually have one on Friday, too. The Minor Dog, George Pickens or Nico Collins. Nico Collins, he had a great catch last week, but he just doesn't have the role that Nico Collins does in the offense right now. And both quarterbacks are playing about the same. So I'd rather have the guy with the better target share. But, yeah, I think that about does it here. Thanks, everybody, for chilling. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Have a great evening. And let's go get these fantasy lineups set. Good luck, y'all. And I'll see you tomorrow.